do not recall offhand. We're continuing the Strickland versus Strickland case, and my notes are here before me, but I don't. The last witness, if I recall correctly, was the nephew from out in Arkansas. Is that correct?
Yeah, Judge, so I was going to do my redirect on Mr. Strickland,
All right.
but we took it out of order.
Mr. Strickland, if you'll come back to the stand. I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and be placed under oath again, please.
And I would call for the rule, Your Honor.
Rule has been requested. That means that any witness who is going to testify other than the parties must go outside of the courtroom and remain outside of the courtroom. The monitor is not on out there in the lobby, is it? If you don't mind double checking. No boxes allowed today. It's 5 days before Christmas. No cases involving boxes are going to be allowed.
Merry Christmas. Unless they're wrapped with a bow.
Well, I can go get some wrapping.
All right. It is on. The monitor that's out in the lobby area, which is utilized for a lot of times when we have overcrowded courtroom, especially criminal docket call day, people out there waiting can see when their case is called. So we're going to turn that off so that the rule can be enforced. All right, we are ready. Go ahead.
Mr. Strickland, have you been sworn?
Make sure that the microphone
Yes,
is
ma'am.
on at the podium, please.
Since you have, we have filed for this divorce, isn't it true that you have been proclaiming that you are now divorced?
No, ma'am, not any more than Miss Strickland has.
You're a singer-songwriter, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you making money off of that?
No, ma'am.
Have you been offered a record deal or
No record
something
deal.
in that nature?
No, ma'am.
Do you have an agent?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you just testified that you have not been offered any.
I have not been
record
offered a
deals or
record deal.
anything?
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Need my glasses, Your Honor. Hold on.
I'm going to show you a document here. You can identify that?
Yes, ma'am, I sure can.
And who are in that text messaging?
It's me and my sister, Tasha
Can you read
Strickland.
your part of that text message?
Yes, ma'am, I sure can. I said, I am far from miserable. Excuse me. I'm on top of the world. All my dreams are coming true. I've been offered a song contract. I have gobs and gobs of women that want me. And all I had to do is get rid of her. It's a funny how miserable women like to bring everyone down around them. You should be ashamed that you have treated our father the way our father, he may be in the wrong, but he's still your father. It's going to end up just like mom. He's going to die before you realize that you're wrong. And you'll have to live with that for the rest of your life, just like you did with mom. Now, I'm sure you're keeping you from bringing someone their food. So hop to it.
Okay, and this text messaging, this was after we filed for the divorce, correct?
I
It's
do believe,
recent.
I do believe so. Yes, ma'am.
And you left the word CUNT when you
I
describe
did.
your.
I did.
life.
It's a
Okay.
vulgar word, and I was upset with my sister, and sometimes people say things
And
they
you-
don't
you-
mean.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try not to talk over you, okay? I apologize.
Yes, ma'am.
But you did use that word.
I did use that word. Yes, ma'am.
to
I was
describe your
upset.
wife. Okay. Now that song contract, you said you were offered a song contract.
I was offered a potential for my songs to be shopped to an artist.
How much would that be if that come to fruition?
I have no idea. There was no finances talked. It was more of a dream that it might come true.
Who offered you that?
It was BMI. And it wasn't more of an offer. It was, let's see what we can do.
All right,
It
so
wasn't, there was
okay.
no written offer, no verbal offer of anything other than, let me have your songs and I will see what I can do.
Okay. But you did say there in the text, you were offered
I did.
a song
I
contract.
did. I
Okay.
was over exaggerating. I was upset and trying to, I don't know. I was really upset at my sister, the way she treated our father.
Okay. Do you have a contact person in BMI?
I do not.
Okay. Was a person was the one who offered you or talked to you about it?
It was one of the entry level people there that was, because you have to go through copywriting infringements and stuff like that before it can ever come to fruition.
Okay, and you can't give me a name of a specific individual?
I think his name was Clay or Cooper or something. I don't know.
You don't have a last name?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you recall testifying about the appraiser that was sent by Mark Spain?
I do, yes, ma'am.
Did you have the report of that appraiser?
I did not, no, ma'am.
What was the value that was given to you as the appraised value?
They didn't give me a value. They left. They said they would get in touch within 7 days. And I assumed that Lindsay called Mark Spain and told him that it was against the law or something, just like she told the feller that bought the Suburban.
Okay, did you hear her call Mark Spain?
No, ma'am, I did not.
So you're just assuming that?
Right, like I said, I assumed.
Okay, the photos that were entered into exhibit number 10, you said that they were taken within the last 3 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you give me an exact date?
I could, if I had my phone, I could give you the dates that I took them because it's time stamped.
So if it's the last 3 months, that would have been as early September, because we're now in December.
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
That was before,
I took some of them the last time I was there, which was in November, so.
so they were taken on different
Yeah,
days.
different timeframes to show that the prolonged neglect of the home.
When are you planning to sell the truck that you pay $1,000 a month for?
When I have to. I use it to work, so if I have to sell it, then I will. But if I don't, I could use it for work.
So you use it to work. You said that you shut down the tree cutting business. So are you still operating the tree cutting business?
I'm still taking on jobs from other companies to keep the bills paid as much as I can.
Okay, let me just clarify that. When you say you're taking on jobs, does that mean you're subcontracting?
Yes,
from
myself.
Other okay, you're not acting as the Music City Tree Services
We have no
LLC?
work, no ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any jobs lined up for the subcontract?
No ma'am.
Last Friday, you did a job for Linda Marshall, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a tree cutting job?
Mm-hmm.
How much was that?
It was $4,200.
$4,200.
And it was deposited in the bank.
How much is in the bank right now?
I'm not sure.
More than 10,000?
No ma'am.
Less than 5,000?
I would say right around, once the payroll got paid for last week, I would say probably around 3,000, 2,000 bucks. If I had my phone, I could give you an accurate amount.
You have, is that the Life Green checking account from Regions?
Yeah, both of my checking accounts are in Regions, yes, ma'am.
So you have two checking accounts?
I have a business account and a personal account.
Okay. Now, in your response to the request for production, I have the August 1, 2023 through August 31, 2023. And this is your account ending 9849. There's a $48,440.44 total withdrawal for that month alone. You want to see it?
Yeah, I would like to see that.
You see the total withdrawals there, it's about some 44,000.
I do, yes,
And
ma'am.
that was the time when you said you were all behind with bills and all that.
Okay.
Okay. So do you recall that 44,000 and some odd numbers? Where did that money go?
It went to bills. You can see right here where we paid the equipment payments. That's the withdrawals is everything that came out of the account.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yeah.
So do you mean the,
It's not cash withdrawals.
okay, those are the transactions here.
Right. Yeah, it would say cash withdrawal.
Do you have any cash stashed somewhere?
I maybe have $300 or $400 in my camper in cash. That's all probably in tens and ones and quarters. Just when I get home each day, I'll empty my pockets.
The people who were with you yesterday, are they working for you?
Two of them still work for me, yes.
What are their names?
One's Brandon Martin, and the other one is James Wilson. And then the other person with me was my longest friend, Daniel Salters.
You told the judge yesterday you were biased against pharmaceuticals. You
Yes,
remember
ma'am.
that? But you do take Xanax, correct?
No, ma'am.
You spending money on women,
No, ma'am.
escorts?
No, ma'am.
You recall your trip to Florida last year?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may we approach me and Mr. Sanders?
I have some, Ms. Hendrickson's indicated she has some questions asked that are going to involve some rather salacious issues, and because there are school-age children involved, we're going to mute during this part. If you will mute that computer over there, please. Stop the sound until we're finished with this part.
Very briefly. I will try.
Strickland, if you'll come around, we're going to ask you to raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
Mrs. Strickland, can you tell the court, how are you all handling your bills?
So I will ask him if, I'll tell him that something is due and ask him if the money is in the account, if I could pay it. And he will tell me yes or no.
Okay. Do you have any access to the accounts where you're able to see the balances, withdrawals, deposits, and all those things?
The business account, no.
Do you have any authority to make withdrawals?
No,
So all you have is the business, the card number, is that right?
yes, he would send me a picture of the card.
Okay. I handed you, or the bailiff handed you a document or a set of documents. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
Who are the people engaged in that text messaging?
me and Patrick.
And when was that?
This was in September.
Of this year?
Mhm.
Can you read from the top?
It says, do I need to go ahead and just pay all these bills that are due? He says, what bills are due? And now I've always paid them. And how are you going to pay them?
That was him telling you, I've always paid them, and how are you gonna pay them?
Yes.
Okay.
And then it says, car payments, lights, and insurance are the ones that are past due at the moment. I deferred the cell phone payment till later this month. He said, well, she always calls me for the insurance and you always tell me the light bills and the car payments. And then he continues to say, but yes, if it wouldn't put you out any, pay the light bills, we will do the truck payments tomorrow. Do you still have the business card information? I said, all I need to know is can I pay them or not? He said, do you still have the business card information? You can pay the light bill and the insurance. We will pay the truck payments tomorrow. Please answer my question. If not, I can send you the information, but I'm pretty sure you still have it from paying the bills already. And I said, of course I do, but it does me no good when I have no idea how much is in the account.
Okay. So did you intentionally let the bills lapse as, you know,
No.
he testified? And you, in fact, in those text messaging, you were offering to help get some of the bills paid,
Yes.
correct? I would like to enter that as an exhibit.
There was another page. Should I have read that one too?
Yes.
Okay. I said, of course I do, but it does me no good when I have no idea how much money is in the account. Obviously, there is not enough, or we would pay the car payments today. See, if I wouldn't have asked you and went ahead and paid all of those bills, would they have went through? He said, there is enough money in there to pay the car payments right now, Lindsay, but payroll comes out today, so I need to make sure some more deposits before we pay the truck payment. And I said, okay, thanks. That's all I needed to know. He said, you're so welcome, and thank you so much for doing it for me, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
What about advertising? He testified that you let it lapse. Are you you responsible for paying that?
No, I've never paid that. Is this for another one or?
Your Honor, may I have a-
You may.
So do you even know how much the payment, the monthly payment for the advertisement of
No.
that company?
I've seen it on the bank records when I was doing tax, but I didn't.
You're not the one paying those.
Mm-mm.
Did you ran off half of the staff as he
No.
testified? How's your relationship with his staff?
I don't have any problems with any of them.
Okay. Your Honor, may I ask for exhibit number 10, the photos that were shown to Mr. Strickland? You can look at those. Thank you. You looked at them.
No, I'm sorry.
So those pictures, do they depict the usual condition of the house?
No.
Do you recognize those? And when do you think your husband took those pictures?
The majority of them before Like when, I would say in the first month of us separating,
And when was that? What month was that?
August.
August, okay. So this was before you all entered into an agreed order that both parties will keep the house in a showing condition.
Yes, this was in the worst part of everything.
Okay. And whenever the house was shown, was it in a good, decent showing condition?
Yes.
Okay. Now, and you can return that to the Madam Clerk, please. Your husband testified that the day that he was admitted to the hospital, you were badgering him. Is that true?
No. Are we talking about the incident
In
In
August, yes.
badgering him?
That's his word, yeah.
No.
That's the word that he used in his testimony.
I confronted him about the text messages on his phone.
Was a text message from Amy Jo Davis?
No, it was from Keisha. Lakeisha, I'm sorry,
Lakeisha.
Lakeisha.
All right. And who's Lakeisha?
His, the lady he had a child with, before we got together, she had gave it up for adoption, and he went to court to fight to try to get the child to his custody.
So are they still in communication? They have contact still?
They did not for years, no.
Okay. But on that day in August, I'm gonna show you some pictures, okay?
That same objection I've already made. We have an agreed order that post dates all of these communications, text messages, all of this was taken into account when we entered into the agreed order that's in place right now.
What exactly, Ms. Hendrickson, are these documents?
Your Honor, these are the text messages that precipitated the argument that led Mr. Strickland to be admitted at the mental hospital. And in his testimony, when we were here, he had testified that my client was badgering him and that she drove him to be admitted. And in fact, it was his own doing that caused that to occur.
Again, we're talking about the temporary restraining order and what's in the best interest of the minor children, so I will overrule the objection and allow this to be admitted for that purpose.
Thank you. So can you read that text message there?
It says you are married,
Who was that from?
Lakeisha.
Okay,
Daniel.
and then can you read the other message there?
This is from after.
Okay.
This, it says, me too, heart. Now let me see that beautiful smile.
And who's that picture on there?
Lakeisha.
And the
And
other
Patrick.
picture? And when was that?
This was, I found it on the 14th.
So they continue to
August.
have this romantic sounding like communication, is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I would like to admit that as exhibit.
Mr. Sanders, your objection is noted, but we're going to allow it for that limited purpose.
As far as the visitation goes, what are you asking the court?
At this point, I don't know.
Would you be, and I remember you testified that you would like for him to complete the psychological evaluation. That
Yes.
was already ordered, correct?
Yes,
Would you want him to do periodic drug screen to make sure that,
yes,
okay. What about supervised visitation?
I think that would be best.
And if he can come up with a supervisor, would you consider that?
Yes.
Okay. What about the house? What's your request about that? Would you want it be continued to be sold?
I would like for it to be sold just for the fact if it auctions. There, I mean, you know, it's the same as the machines being sold. There was nothing left.
Okay.
You know, that has to go to paying our debt and paying the house payment off. And by the time all that's done, there will be nothing left.
If it's an auction type situation. So do you feel like it would be more prudent if you go through the usual realtor listing? It will just take a little bit of time.
Mhm.
Do you have anything else you want to tell the judge at this point?
This situation has been horrible for our family, for our kids. I'm concerned with our children because of the communications that they have. Last night, he sent a text message to our 13-year-old telling him that he was going to take them to Opryland to ice on Thursday. We haven't made any agreements to anything yet. He also sent him text messages of pictures of a house that he plans on or is thinking about buying. And it really bothers me because it's manipulating our kids. And all of this, I want to keep my kids safe. I don't want my kids to keep dragging out because it is hurting them.
Any further?
No, I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Sanders, you may cross-examine. Clarification of Ms. Strickland, to make sure, on the sale of the house, are you saying that you would prefer it to be auctioned or listed with a realtor?
Listed with a realtor.
You understand that would require that the house be kept in proper order and cleaned and so forth? Mr. Strickland says he doesn't think that you're capable of doing that.
When all of this started, I was in a bad place. You know, we had went through the whole drinking thing, the whole suicidal thing, and then the whole him being in a facility. And then when he got out, he told me that he needed to go to Arkansas for the weekend because he's seen so much stuff in there. And he told me he was gonna come back and be more present and help me more and put us as a priority. And he left. And the night that he got back, I found all the text messages to all the other women. And, you know, you put all your hope that somebody's gonna change and get better, and it all crashes. And it was rough for the first month.
Mr. Sanders, you may ask.
Yes. Ms. Strickland, are you currently on any dating websites?
I'm on Facebook.
Or do you have a profile on a website called Plenty of Fish?
I created one to find his
What?
profile.
Plentyoffish.com. And is that a dating site?
Yes.
And did you pay to subscribe to that page?
No.
Did you upload a picture of yourself?
Yes.
And did you describe yourself for people that might be interested in you if they look at your photograph?
Yeah, but I don't remember what it said.
Do you recall listing that you were divorced?
I don't recall.
That you were divorced, want a date, but nothing serious, interested in men for hangout. And then you included a picture of yourself. Do you recall that?
Does it not say friendship on there?
I can show you. I can show it to you. You can look at it for
Yeah.
yourself. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
And those two photographs, and that one photograph is a picture, and that's obviously you, correct?
Correct. I did create this account, yes.
Did you take that picture of yourself?
It's an old picture, but yes.
Did you take it?
Yes.
And where did you take that picture?
At our house.
Okay. And what website is that profile taken from?
Plenty of fish.
Plenty of fish. And did you describe yourself there in your profile?
Yes.
How did you describe your marital status?
Divorced, wants to date, but nothing serious. Interested in men for hangout.
Okay. So you lied, correct? You're not divorced.
I'm not divorced, no.
But you were untruthful on that profile.
I created this profile to find his profile.
Oh, okay.
They both want to be divorced.
I believe so.
You want to talk to your client? You want to be divorced?
Yes.
I mean, I can talk with him.
I'm the one that asked for divorce in the first place, Your Honor.
Talk to your client, because I'm fixing to grant them both a divorce today. That way we can fix that problem about whether they want to date anybody or whatever. They can do that. It'll be a great Christmas present for both of them, I
Yes, sir.
imagine. So, I'm
Um,
going to ask your client before, when you can finish with her,
Okay.
but ask your
Okay.
client. And I'm not compelling that to be done, but there are certain issues that obviously are going to have to be litigated. The question of who should be the primary residential parent, question of economics and what should be done with the property, the question of how are we going to handle the property and so forth. But there are other issues that if both of you don't want to be married to each other anymore, then rather than get into who shot John and who did what to whom, that can still factor in, the fault in the situation can still factor in the alimony claim if there is one. But property division under the state law is to be fair and equitable without regard to fault. That means that I can't assess more property to you simply because he might have gone outside your marriage and been having those affairs or doing whatever that was that he did or didn't do in Florida. So the question is, if you want to be able to move forward with your life and you want to be done with this marriage and both of you agree, then we can fix that problem today. But I want to make sure you consult with your lawyers before we do that. Mr. Sanders, you may
Yes.
continue, sorry.
when did you create your profile, Ms. Strickland?
I don't recall.
Been within the last year?
Yeah, it was it was after we had already split up.
And how many men did you communicate with through that app?
Not many.
Well, how many?
I don't have a clue. When I found his account, I unactivated mine. I may have talked to a few before then.
Did you physically meet
No.
any men from that app?
No,
Did you talk on the phone with them?
no,
Email?
no,
Text message?
not that I'm aware of, no.
Trade any photographs with any men from that app?
No, I don't think so.
So if we subpoena those records, there won't be any photographs being traded between you and any of those gentlemen?
If anything, it will be a picture of me with a fish or something. I don't remember what I put as the pictures. There's more than just one picture on there.
Now, those photographs that Mr. Strickland took, those are your house, correct?
They are.
You don't dispute that that's your house. And when is it that you think those photographs were taken?
A lot of them were taken before
Before what?
October 20th.
Or some of them not?
The kids' room may not the ones where he swept everything off and under the bed and left it in the middle of the floor, but where their beds aren't made, that could possibly, the bedroom where the bed's not made, that could possibly be after.
So
The
trash-
laundry room
The trash that he
possibly.
swept into the middle of the floor and took a picture of, does that picture represent what in your mind would be good housekeeping?
No, that represents my children's room, which are teenagers, and they take food back there and throw stuff and hide it. I used to.
Is that the sort of a trash that's going to accrue in a day or two? That much trash?
I used to go in their room and clean their room, and he would get on to me for doing that because I wasn't teaching them anything. He would have them clean their room, and I would always go back in after them and clean it And so I stopped doing that.
If we were to go into your house right now, is it in good condition or is it dirty again?
It's in fair condition. I mean, nothing that can't be cleaned within the 24 hours. Like, we got up this morning and there's probably stuff on the kitchen counter. There's a laundry basket of laundry that needs put up in the laundry room. The toy area we have all the toys crammed in this one hole. And I don't think I made my bed this morning when I got up.
Because your job is cleaning houses, correct?
Yes,
But
I
right,
have-
right now, you're not working.
I worked yesterday
Where did you work yesterday?
cleaning houses. I got home at 6:30. I cooked supper. I did homework. I got the kids ready for bed. I got up this morning and got them ready for school, got myself ready for this, and walked out and let the dogs out and fed the bird and fed the cats and then walked out.
And you testified earlier about you have a son that was expelled from school.
He was not expelled from
Did
school.
he fail a drug test
Yes,
at school?
no,
Where did he fail a drug test?
here, at
Here,
court,
where?
court,
What did he fail a drug test for?
marijuana,
Is that all?
meth,
Meth. And how old's your son?
17.
And he lives with you?
Mhm.
And that's your son, not Mr. Strickland's son, correct?
He's been his father since he was 4.
I understand, but biologically,
Biologically,
it's
no.
Mr. Strickland is his stepfather, but he's been involved, correct? When did he test positive for meth?
A week. I think it was a week ago.
A week ago? Does he share a bedroom with your other children? Any of
No.
them?
No.
Does he still live in your home?
Yes.
You heard Mr. Strickland's testimony about this product that he uses, that he purchases at Perfect Plant. Are you aware of Perfect Plant? Do you know what it is?
From what he's told me.
Do you have any friends that use those products that are in your home? Do you have a girlfriend that uses those?
Not from that place, no.
Okay. But do you have a girlfriend that uses some sort of CBD product?
Yes.
Does she smoke it?
It's vape.
And is that something you've seen her do
Mhm.
at your house?
Mm-hmm.
What's her name?
Jody.
Do you have profiles on any other websites?
Just the Facebook.
No other dating site of any sort?
Mm-mm.
Have you been involved in a romantic relationship with anyone other than your husband since you've been married?
No.
How do you all pay your bills? Are they set up to be automatically deducted from the account?
Not of the ones that he has me pay.
The ones that, how do you pay the ones that he has you pay?
I go online and I put the card number in and pay them.
And when you say you put in the card number, what are you referring to?
The card number on his debit card.
And is that linked to the Music City Tree Service account?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so you're able to go online, use that number, and pay bills or purchase things?
Yes.
And has that always been the case? Is that how you've always done that?
No, in the past, I had a card too. I was on the account for, when I was writing the checks.
And when did you stop writing checks?
I think it was, I think I wrote them from, it was either 21 or 22. 2021, 2022, like the end of 21 to 22, I think.
You think that you stopped writing checks out of the Music City account, tree account,
He took me off the account.
in 2022? And why were you taken off the account?
Because we were getting a divorce.
And you were never added back after you all got back together?
No.
When did you obtain the card information?
I don't recall.
So he gave you the card number with the PIN and the expiration date, those things, to allow you to use it. And did you then begin to use it?
To pay the bills, yes.
Would you use it for anything else?
Probably.
What else would you use it for?
I don't know.
I mean, did you shop with it? Did you buy things for the house? Did you
I'm sure I
have food
did.
delivered to the house?
I don't really have food delivered, but I'm sure I did like a Walmart pickup before, maybe.
Are you still using the card in that manner
No.
today?
No.
You don't use it anymore?
No, I haven't used it since he's decided to take over all the bills.
And then the other bills that you don't pay, they're automatically deducted from the account?
Or he pays them.
And are you paying from your personal money any bills now?
I pay my Burke's card, the Marshall's card. And I have paid, we get our taxes put into my personal account and I've paid bills through that.
Did you all get a refund this year?
No,
Yes.
no, I have not received anything.
Okay.
The IRS actually sent me a note saying that we owe $4,000 and something for a vehicle that he didn't turn in on taxes. And the accountant said that we probably wouldn't get a refund because they would take it for that.
Where did you do a psychological evaluation?
I did.
Okay. Where did you do that?
At Cornerstone?
Centerstone?
Centerstone, yes, sorry.
I get those mixed up too. Cornerstone is a veterinarian office.
Yeah.
I get them mixed up too. Centerstone, okay. And was there a conclusion or a recommendation?
There was a diagnosis of, I don't remember the exact terms that they used, but having a hard time adjusting and anxiety.
And are you receiving any sort of care or therapy for
Yes.
that? What are you doing for that?
I go to therapy
When did you start that?
in November.
And who is your therapist?
I'm really bad with the names. Rachel, her name's Rachel.
And where is she at Centerstone?
Yes,
Are you on medication?
I take something for anxiety.
What do you take?
I do not remember the name of it.
When did you start taking that?
The end of November. A month ago. It'll be about a month from now.
So So what steps have you taken with respect to your child who has this issue with drugs?
That, it just happened. And when we left here, I went to Walmart and bought more drug tests and made him go home and take another one, and he only failed for THC. He has went to 2 different classes, and I'm sure that there will be more to come over that.
One moment, Your Honor. Was it recommended that your son attend summer school
Yes,
the last couple of years after school, he was after summer school? And you chose to not put him in summer school,
I
correct?
actually did send him to summer school
You did?
Mhm.
When did he go to summer school?
This last summer.
Did he finished and completed it?
No, I told him that if he would go to summer school and do the 2 weeks of summer school and put out effort and show me that he was willing to do that, to complete it, I would let him, when the time came, he could get his GED.
So as long as he went for 2 weeks, then you were good letting him off the hook
Letting him off the hook.
for not completing the rest of summer school?
Summer school's only 2 weeks.
What about the summer before?
He didn't go to summer school. We went
Was he
somewhere.
recommended to go?
Yes.
But he didn't go.
No, I think we went on vacation or something.
That's all.
Redirect. Mr. Sanders, were you intending to make an exhibit of that?
Yes, I apologize. Yes, I would like to make that the next number exhibit.
Mrs. Strickland, you testified that you created a Plenty of Fish account so that you can see if he's got an account?
Yes,
And did you find one?
I did. I knew he had an account.
What is his profile name on there?
Last of a dying breed. Someone proved me wrong.
Does it have a year after the profile name?
It just says 2.
Does it say 2023 on there?
No, it just says 2 on it, ...
Can you read his brief description of
Oh,
himself?
yes, I'm sorry. At the top, it does say last of a dying breed, 2023.
Okay, so that's his profile.
Mhm.
And can you read the description there?
Someone proved me wrong.
Okay, second page.
Do you want me to read all of it or just the one at the bottom?
Donna, may I approach?
May.
About
Okay. About Bull Rider 420. You can usually chasing some new adventure or fishing or hanging out with my dog, looking for someone that enjoys and values the same dreams and ambitions that I do. Is she out there looking for that ride to die?
Now, the Plenty of Fish that you created, you took that off as soon as you saw his.
I deactivated it, yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to play a video, but I'm gonna need you to identify it first, okay?
Okay.
What
We
is
need to
this?
switch.
What is this video of?
Mr. Strickland proclaiming to the whole world that he's unmarried.
Because I think it's an improper,
Yeah.
I think it's an improper foundation to lay for the showing of the
Well,
video.
established that both of them had claimed to be divorced when they were not divorced. Is there any reason other than cumulative evidence to play that?
Well, it goes to his credibility as well, Your Honor.
Or
It goes to his credibility. He just testified that he never did that, and now I'm going to show that he indeed say that.
like,
You recognize that video?
Yes,
And was that taken after you filed for the divorce?
yes,
And who's that person standing there?
that is Patrick.
Yeah, y'all give me a lot better feedback than my dog. So I'm a songwriter and recently divorced, and I turned down a lot of record deals for the wrong woman, and I should have chased my dream. And you're never too old to start again, I guess. But I'll play some music for you, and I hope you enjoy it.
That was him saying to his audience that he has been recently divorced.
Yes,
Is that correct? And that he has turned down deals for the wrong woman.
yes.
And I'm just gonna ask you about David, okay?
Okay.
Has he been following the recommendations that are being asked of him
Yes.
currently? Now, you testified he tested positive for marijuana and meth.
Mhm.
Is he going to have another test?
Yes, I'm gonna get him a hair follicle test.
Okay. The meth part, do you know that he uses that?
No, he wouldn't, he doesn't.
Okay. And so that could have been a fluke or
Yes,
something wrong with the testing,
Judge
maybe?
objection, it's complete speculation. He tested positive.
Sustained, that would require her to speculate as to why that test was positive.
Yes, Judge. But there is another test that's gonna happen soon here, is that
yes,
correct?
yes,
Okay. And is he homeschooling right now?
yes,
Okay. Now, Jody, your friend, did you testify that she vapes?
yes, she has a cart.
Would you have a problem if the judge tells you nobody should be vaping around children if that happens?
No, and she wouldn't either.
Okay. Now, you were asked about did you have a PIN to withdraw money from that business card account? Are you able to withdraw money from that?
No,
account?
not without the card.
Okay. Are you able to see what's in the account?
No.
Like log into the website?
No,
So the only thing really you can do is pay with that account,
yes.
correct? But for you to be able to do that, you have to make sure that you ask him to put money in that account.
Yes.
Okay.
If we're talking about the business account.
The business account?
Yes, okay.
Okay. Is there another card?
Yes, he had an account with Pinnacle. And I had a card to that when I needed money, he would put it in there.
Okay. Do you still have that?
No, he shut the account down.
And I'm just gonna show you last photo here. You already have this. Yes. And then 15. Okay. And then the video that I showed, that's in that stick that I gave you on Monday. The video that I showed, it's included in that.
All right, so the video you just played was on that thumb drive,
Yes, Judge.
all right. Then we'll just make it a part of the collective exhibit.
Okay, so the judge talked to asked your husband about those photos, correct? I just want to make sure that we entered those.
Yes.
And where were those taken?
This one is taken on his boat,
Okay, is there a date on there?
September 17th.
Okay, and then the next picture, where was that taken?
This was taken in his camper.
Okay. I would like to enter those as exhibits.
Judge, same objection as to the timing. It predates any, our temporary order in this case.
What do they purport to show?
Those are the pictures of the marijuana that was found in his camper.
Overruled.
That's all I have.
Sanders?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, you may step down. Hendrickson, you have other witnesses?
Yeah, yes, Your Honor, I have the last witness, Miss Julie Kuhn. She'll be outside. Good morning.
Good morning.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
I'm Julie Kuhn.
Okay. And how are you familiar with the parties here?
Yes, ma'am.
And how are you related to them?
I was the original listing agent in July of 2022.
Okay. And what property was that you were listing?
Burns,
And if you'll
Tennessee.
pull the base of that microphone towards you a little bit, just pull it down, it moves. So, now the base, grab hold up, there you go. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And when was that again, when you had the listing of that house?
I am trying to go back to my notes. Please forgive me. 9/12/2022
Okay. And how long did you have the listing?
until 11/30/2022.
Okay. And the listing just terminated?
Yes, ma'am.
The contract
Yes,
itself
ma'am.
got terminated, or was it terminated by either party? to the
Mr.
contract?
Strickland terminated it.
Okay. Did he terminate it before the contract expired, or did it
Yes,
not?
ma'am.
Okay, so
Yes,
he
ma'am.
terminated it before the contract expired.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I'm gonna give you documents here that you provided for me previously. And what I want for you to tell the judge is your opinion on the current fair market value of this property, if you can. If you can go through your process of determining the value of this property.
There are more than one parcel to this property. You've got a commercial piece, and then you have a residential piece, and both are evaluated separately, but they both need to be sold together due to the road frontage only being 116 feet touching the road on Old Spencer Mill Road, and that's coming off of the commercial piece. There's approximately 5 to 6 acres there. 4 acres on one and 1 acre. This courthouse retrieval system has a tax map of everything that I'm referring to. And
Ms. Kuhn, I'm sorry, I didn't establish your background. How long have you been doing, how long have you been a realtor?
I've been a real estate agent since 2014, but I've been in the title industry my entire life. I'm still a title agent.
Okay, and which area do you concentrate on?
I'm in Middle Tennessee. I do Davidson County, Dixon County, Williamson County, Montgomery County, Hickman County.
Okay, you're everywhere.
In the state of Tennessee, I'm licensed to sell.
Okay, and then, but this particular property here, Burns, Tennessee, are you familiar with that area there? The
Yes,
properties
ma'am.
there?
Born and raised in Dixon County, know the area well.
And you've sold properties there?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, but how many properties have you sold in the last year, just here in this area?
Well, in Dixon County, I would estimate approximately 10 properties within the past 2.5 years.
Okay. And would the price range be around, this property that we're discussing here?
Some, yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so go ahead and continue your explanation.
With the 2 maps and parcels, and there's some really interesting buildings, a restaurant. It's a very remarkable piece of property. It has a lot to offer. And if you take and YouTube this address, you'll see the video that I put together when I marketed the property. And it's a very pretty property. Great views. Since then, Mr. Strickland has actually built a garage. And I do believe with everything I've done in research, you could put it on the market for $770,000. Real estate this time is slower than last year. I think everyone's aware of the interest rates, and sometimes it takes 3 to 6 months to market a property and to sell it of this value.
What was the amount you thought it should be listed for?
$770,000.
And if you were to get this listing, when would you start putting it out on the market? Given the holidays coming, end of year, and all those things in consideration.
Wednesday, 2 days
Within
after
this-
Christmas.
Oh, okay, 2 days after Christmas.
Yes.
And you testify that it probably will usually take about 3-6 months.
When you have a property over $500,000, unless someone has cash, they don't want the high interest rates. And that has slowed the market down tremendously.
So when you when you came up with your number, did you do a market analysis?
Yes, ma'am.
And compare this home with other homes that were sold prior?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further.
Sanders, you have questions?
Ms. Coon, you listed the property from July of 2022 to November of 2022.
Estimated, yes, sir.
And what was your listing price at that time?
Originally 1.2 million.
And you all came down
Yes, sir.
incrementally?
Yes, sir.
And what was the last list price before your contract was terminated?
$875. I do believe. Now, I had to call my office this morning to get the information. I've kind of been put on the spot to ask to show up today, and so I do apologize if I'm off a bit.
I do apologize to you. That wasn't us. But if I told you that it's our understanding that the property had been reduced down into the 7s without action, do you know whether or not that's true?
I do know it's true because I've done my research on my way in with my office. They kind of give me the rundown. I know Hodges and Fushi. I know the agent, very lovely lady.
So again, let me ask you, so what was the last list price that you had it listed at?
I honestly can't remember.
Did you receive any offers?
No, sir.
No. How many times was the property shown?
3. If not, that's estimating, maybe more. 4, 2.
What did you said 2, 4, what are you talking, you saying?
Mr. Strickland. I mean, I can't remember. I know I met 2 different people out there, 2 different times, and I think someone else showed up there without me.
And out of those showings, no offer was received?
That's correct. There was no open houses either.
Did you schedule any open houses?
No, sir.
And what goes into the process to decide whether or not to have an open house on a property?
The family schedule.
Okay.
It's
And
really
this-
the intent of the family.
And this family, for whatever reason, it didn't happen?
That's correct.
Did you ever go into the home?
Yes, sir.
You viewed the actual inside
Yes,
of the
sir.
home? What do you recall the condition of the inside of the
Yes, sir.
home? Did it look good?
Yes, sir.
You said Mr. Strickland terminated the contract with you.
Yes, sir.
You recall anything specific about that conversation or how that came about?
That he wanted to take it off the market.
Were they unhappy that it had been on the market that long without any more activity or showings or no offers?
He did not indicate that to me.
Because you said you listed at 1.2,
Yes, sir.
and it's your recollection that you got down into the eights?
Yes, sir. 875 is my notes here. I'd have to look. I'd have to look again on my
It
research.
was reduced in excess of $300,000 during the time that you had the contract.
It was a very life-changing time in real estate with the interest rates going up and the market falling.
And in your opinion, this property is going to take you how long to sell it?
3 to 6 months. There's a couple other things you could do differently. I could do open houses. Springtime's coming. Real estate sells better in the spring and summer than in the winter months. It's just it's not as active in the winter months.
What happens if a house is on the market for sale and the house payment's not being able to be made?
If the house payments aren't made and there's a mortgage, then there's foreclosure.
And what if a family doesn't have 6 months to wait hoping that a property sells?
And they can price it lower. There's a couple of things you could do to that property that I would advise that'd really make it sell.
Do you know who was the agent after you?
Leslie Allison at Hodges and Fushi.
And do you know what she had it listed at?
My notes say that she started off 223 coming soon, 46 active at 650 the same day, canceled it, put it back on the market 427 active at 999.9. 726 reduced it to 950.
Hold on just a second. You're talking really fast and you're throwing out a lot of numbers. Are you giving dates?
When I called my office,
No, just listen to my question. You're saying 726 at this, are you giving dates that it
Yes,
was
sir.
listed at that price?
they originally listed at 999.9 on April
was
the
that date?
27th. April the 27th, 2023.
Okay? And was that reduced?
Yes, sir.
What was it reduced to?
On July the 26th, it was reduced to 950.
Was it reduced again?
Yes, sir.
What was the next reduction?
August the 11th was the date to 800,000.
Was that the last one?
No, sir.
Okay, what was the next reduction?
August the 30th,
Okay,
725. 725,000.
and was that the last reduction?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to know if there were showings?
No, sir.
You don't have to do
I
that
did not
information.
investigate that.
Okay.
But I am aware there's no sign out there. I did look. When you list a property, one of the things I ask that if you want to reduce it, please let me know. I'm happy to reduce it and market it.
And folks, I assume would typically reduce the price if they're not getting traffic and activity?
Yes, sir.
That's all, Your Honor.
Anderson?
So when you had the listing, you were getting into the winter months,
May my
is
client
that
have a
correct?
5-minute, can we have a 5-minute break? He needs to use the
We'll
restroom.
give you more than a 5-minute break. We'll give you a 15-minute break.
Yes, Your Honor.
We'll make it our morning recess.
Thank you.
Rise.
And you said that if you take this listing, you would consider open houses, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Would that increase the probability of it being sold?
It would increase the traffic flow
The traffic flow, okay.
of people knowing that it's on the market, it's for sale. Open houses let even the neighbors come look.
Okay. And then you testify that, so the 770,000 that you testified to, would that be the number that you would start with?
Yes, ma'am.
And you feel like it's a fair market value? to
Yes,
begin with?
ma'am. It is a fair market value.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down and we'll release you from any further testimony. Ms. Hendrickson, you have another witness.
No, Your Honor, that's my proof.
Sanders, you have any other witness?
Oh, Brandon Martin, Your Honor, he's outside.
No. Yes. Well, no, I'm not gonna sign it. You brought me an order that stays the, oh, wait. Hold on a second. That's a different order.
State your name.
Brandon Jeffrey Martin.
Mr. Martin, do you know the Stricklands that are here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
How do you know them?
I started working for Mr. Strickland through a Facebook ad for tree work, groundsman.
How long have you done that?
It'll be 7 years, July.
And have you visited in their home and things like that?
Yes, all 7 years, pretty much helped build it to where the addition to the house, pretty much.
What's the nature of what are you doing right now? What's your job?
I'm the foreman, pretty much take care of the crew. When Orlando's out on vacation or whatever, I handle business affairs, everything except for knowing credit and financials and stuff like that. But other than that, I run the crew on the job site, talk to customers.
Has the work changed any recently?
I would say in the 7 years that I've worked for Music City Tree, this last year, through the whole proceedings of the divorce, it's a lot slower than it has been.
Have you observed the Stricklands with their children?
Yes.
Have you had an occasion to observe Miss Strickland with the children?
Yes.
What have you observed her as far as parenting with the children?
Normal parenting. There's been certain occasions where my upbringing would bring back my memories, but things would get kind of be she would allow them to do it, not really allow them to do it, but really wouldn't, not a discipline, like in a way, I don't understand like how to explain it, but I wouldn't say bad parent. I wouldn't say, good parent. I wouldn't say she wouldn't do anything bad, if that's what you're asking. No.
What about Mr. Strickland? Have you observed him with the kids?
Yes.
And he has children. They have children together, and then she has children
Yes.
as well. But they all live there together?
Yeah. Up until recently, they Owen, I do know he does go transfers between Lindsay and his father. Mason, David, Gus, and Zaylee have always been in the house. Up until the divorce, he was in the house too. Till the proceedings, he's been in the camper.
Now, have you observed Mr. Strickland with the children?
Yes.
And what have you observed with Mr. Strickland and the kids?
The same. We go on the boat. They go camping. It's parenting 101. Has ups and downs as any other normal parent.
Is he attentive to the children?
Yes.
Do they appear to be having fun and love their father?
As you would think a young child would see the world and not as what's going on here, yes.
And does Mr. Strickland interact well and appear to love the children?
As much as any other father would, yes.
That's all, Your Honor.
Ms. Hendrickson?
Good morning, Mr. Martin.
Morning.
Do you smoke weed with Mr. Strickland?
And CBD,
Just CBD,
yeah.
not marijuana?
From the Delta, from Perfect Plant. It's
Who
technically
supplies?
Delta 10,
Okay, Delta 10.
yes.
Who supplies the CBD?
Perfect Plant,
And do you buy it?
yes,
Okay, so you get your own?
yes.
Does Mr. Strickland give you some too?
Not really like give, but it's all the same.
Okay,
It's not like he's selling it to me or anything like that, no.
okay. Do you drink alcohol with him as well?
Yes,
Is it usually after your day's work?
yep.
You'll go to the shop?
We go to the shop, put all the saws away, all the vehicles. We have how the job went. He asked how it all went down, it went. Customer's happy if we cleaned up right. Gives us the lowdown the next following day. It's kind of a wind down period.
Right, and so you have alcohol there. Is that usually every day after a job is done?
More than most, not every day.
Okay. Did you go to the Florida trip with them last year?
I've been to Florida with Mr. Strickland on a hurricane and a boating trip.
Okay. Were you on that trip where David was also there?
Yes, on the very last trip, yes.
On the very last trip. Do you recall passing out marijuana in the boat and David was also partaking?
David wasn't partaking in my accord. We were partaking with Mr. Strickland and the other occupants on the boat for the trip.
Okay, but David was there.
David was there, yes.
He would have been how old? 16 years old?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
He's just about to be 17, yes.
All right.
This was a couple months ago, so. Yes.
Okay. So marijuana was being passed around just the adults, not the minor child.
No, I've never seen David really with it, no.
Okay. When was the last tree cutting was with Mr. Strickland?
Yesterday,
So you had
yes,
you had to do a job yesterday?
yes.
Where was that?
In Dixon.
In Dixon? Can
Yes.
you tell me the name of the customer?
I'm very bad with names.
Do you know how much you all made from that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any other jobs lined up
After Christmas,
after Christmas?
yes.
Specifically January, February?
No, literally the Tuesday after Christmas.
Oh, okay. Okay. How many jobs are lined up?
All I know is as we go on, just the one for right now.
Just one.
Because of like during winter, it's kind of slow. The tornado of Nashville kind of gave us some extra work, which we've been working, but normally week before Thanksgiving, all the way till after New Year's, it's very slow. It's usually what we call our winter work.
Okay. But after the tornado, do you recall how many jobs you all did?
I do not, because I was not here during that week. I was actually moving from one house to another, so I did not work that week. I did work the Sunday of the day after the tornado, took a tree off a house, but the following week, I was not there for the whole week.
But as far as you know, there were more jobs, you were just not.
The crew was
The
working,
crew,
yes.
okay. How many crew are there?
Right now, my son is one, James Wilson is another. Before the tornado, my brother-in-law also was working with us.
What is your son's name?
Matthew Falcon,
Matthew, what's the last name again?
Elkin,
Falcon, okay. And your brother-in-law, is that what you said?
My brother-in-law, who is biological to my wife,
What is his name?
Jacob Ayers.
Okay. So currently, it's you, James, what's James' last name?
Wilson.
Wilson. Okay. And then your son, Matthew.
Yes.
Okay. So the brother-in-law is
No,
not
he
a
quit.
crew anymore?
He quit last week,
Oh, quit last week. Okay.
but up until last week, yes, it was just us.
Okay. He was not let go. He quit on his own.
Yes, he quit on his own accord.
Okay.
We do also have a climber, but he is helping his family in Gatlinburg. I forgot about Pip.
Oh, what's the name of that
Pip
climber?
Meyer.
Pip Meyer?
Pip, P-I-P.
Pip, okay. So is he still considered an active?
He hasn't quit technically. His climbing gear is still in our saw shack with all of his saws and stuff.
Okay, so you anticipate that right after Christmas, you'll have one job and then it will just continue from there?
As it always does for winter work. It's usually right after New Year's. Once it starts to warm back up, springtime, that's when we go back to 40 hours a week, basically.
40 hours a week? Is this your full-time job?
This is-
Okay. Does Mr. Strickland keep guns around the children?
They're locked up in 2 safes. He has a personal carry, and so does Miss Strickland.
Has anyone used a bomb in front of Mason or any of the other children?
No.
Okay. How much do you get paid?
I get
Per-
paid $30 an hour.
How much?
30.
$30 an hour? From August to today, were you getting your hours pretty much?
No.
So,
We get paid what we work.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed. Work 5 hours a week to work 50 hours a week.
all right, well, let's say for November.
November, I'd say we worked a good 3 days every week, and possibly 4. We had like a good week. We had one good week in there. We worked all 5.
Okay, so for November, 3 days to 4 if it's a good week.
Yeah, it's usually, we start at 7:30 in the morning. We meet at the shop at 7, but we're usually done by 12, 1 o'clock, unless the job is a really big job, and then it goes until dark and possible into the next day.
Okay, that's a great schedule. So I'm going back, so November, October, how much work did you all do there per week?
Is the purpose or relevance of all of these questions you're asking this witness? This is a temporary hearing that we're dealing with your motion for contempt and then the 2 restraining orders. I'm trying to figure out,
Yes, Your
going
Honor.
into that detail.
Your Honor, so I anticipate that Mr. Strickland will represent that he's not gonna be able to pay the
No motion
mortgage.
down today for him for relief. He hasn't filed a motion asking to be relieved from that order. We're only here about whether or not he has or has not violated the order. So your questions are not relevant. This is the second day we've been going through all of this information. That's a temporary hearing, and we're not going to take all day to do this. I have another case that's also waiting to
understand,
be
Your Honor.
heard, so you need to speed up what
Speed
you're
up.
doing so that we can get through this case.
Your Honor, so the other ex parte that pertains to the house, I anticipate that he will argue that he's not gonna be able to pay the house, so he would argue for an auction. And we're arguing that it should be sold on a regular realtor basis, and so
Gonna
this
fix
is
that
my,
problem.
that's all I have, Your Honor.
Sanders?
Nothing further for this
Thank you,
witness.
sir. You may stand down. Mr. Sanders, you may call your next witness.
Call Mr. Strickland, Your Honor, to be my last witness.
Strickland, I would remind you that you remain under oath.
Yes, sir.
You're Patrick Strickland, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I want to kind of go through the matters that are presently before the court. Have you knowingly put your children in any dangerous situation?
No, sir.
Have you exposed them to drinking or alcohol or the marijuana?
No, sir. Anytime my children were with me, that was completely away from them.
And do you purchase a CBD product in Nashville?
I do, yes, sir.
Is that the source, the only source?
The only
of that that you
source.
have?
The only time I don't go to the store there and get it is when the owner, because I know the owner, my office, my Music City Tree Service office is actually Suite C in the same building. He owns Suite A and B, and we've been long-term friends. So sometimes he comes and sees me and brings it to me instead of me having to go to the store. But that's the only place I get it from because it's legal.
Now, you recall the night that you had you were taken to a hospital, you were hospitalized briefly.
Yes, ma'am. Or yes, sir.
You recall that?
I do.
And is there any secret as to what happened that night? I mean, do you acknowledge that, yes, that happened? Were you upset?
I was very upset. Yes, sir.
Can you tell the court kind of how it happened?
So I went to bed. I was in the bed asleep, and before I went to sleep, I'd been messaging Lakeisha about our son Holden. He had been in trouble and had ran away, and no one could find him. So she had reached out to me to see if he had contacted me, and that was the basis of the conversation. And so I went to bed, and just like every night, Lindsay takes my phone and goes through it. And she's seen the text message. So I opened it up and I showed her every message for the last 3 months was about the child only. And then she's like, well, you should just go chase her and tell her you love her and all that. So I was like, that's fine, I will. And I left and I told her that I was leaving and I was done and she could have everything if that's what it took, but I wasn't going to live that way anymore. And so I left and I went to a graveyard to cool down. And the next thing I know, the police were showing up. No one called me to see if Cameron didn't call me. Lindsay didn't call me. No one called me to see if I was okay. They just assumed. And then the next thing I know, an officer showed up. And of course, he asked me what was wrong. And I was distraught. So I told him I was at my end. I could not deal living this way and watching my children being neglected. And then so he took me to the hospital to speak to someone. I spoke to a psychiatrist, I believe, on a computer, and he asked for Lindsay's phone number, so I give it to him. And then the next thing I know, a nurse is coming in asking me to take Prozac, saying that my wife were sending
Your Honor,
me
I would
to.
object to
Facility.
hearsay.
That's
Objection is to hearsay, Mr. Sanders. I assume it's the nurses coming in saying his wife told them that he was suicidal, and that's why he needs to take Prozac.
I think what the nurse.
Overall, I'm going to allow it simply because it goes to the background of this whole situation.
So how long were you there at the hospital?
the hospital or the psychiatric facility.
Both.
The hospital, I was there maybe 3 hours, 4 hours.
And the next facility? how
I
long?
was there for 4 days.
You heard Ms. Kuhn testify. Did you terminate her the last time that she was y'all's real estate agent?
I did, yes, sir.
And why did you all terminate her?
We had reconciled and decided to take the house off the market.
Was there any activity during the time?
There was 2 people that came that were not interested. There was no activity.
if the court orders that the house be listed or however, whatever else, do you want, are you agreeable to Ms. Coon being the
No.
agent?
No, sir.
You would like for the court to use someone else?
Yes, sir.
Do you have another name?
I do not. I know it's a very unique property to sell, so I've had it listed for almost 2 years and it hasn't sold.
You love your children?
More than anything in this world.
Have you seen them or talked with them since the restraining order?
Once. I
And-
seen them. I seen my little boy once, and I try to text them every day on their iPad that I bought for them, but she regulates that and doesn't let them speak with me.
Prior to the restraining order, at the same time, essentially, was Mason staying with you in the camper?
He was, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
And what was your understanding of why he was in your camper?
She kicked,
Question, Your Honor. This was asked and answered already. We've talked about this multiple times. And he has been asked
Ask and answer.
again.
I didn't recall that, but if it has been, if the court recalls that, then I'll.
Stay the objection.
But he was living at your house?
yes, sir.
Okay. Had your wife expressed any disagreement with him being down there?
No, no,
at your
sir.
camper?
Only when she wanted me to make him come back, and he was scared to go back, and I told her I wasn't going to make him.
I believe that's all, Your Honor.
Ms. Hendrickson?
I don't have any questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Strickland, I wrote this down because I thought it was significant. You said you love your children more than anything in this world.
Yes, sir. I do.
More than weed,
Yes, sir.
more than alcohol.
Yes, sir.
You understand, you doing that, you're going to lose your contact with the children entirely?
Yes, sir.
Step down. Mr. Sanders, you may call your next witness.
I have no additional witnesses, Your Honor.
Any rebuttal proof?
No, Your Honor.
I hear your argument.
Judge, we've heard over and over again that Mr. Strickland has misrepresented a lot of things, including his use of marijuana, abuse of alcohol, even having mental health issues. When Mason stayed at the camper, he had allowed him to access the AR that was depicted on the picture. And Mason began posting suicidal ideations in his own social media as if he was following the footsteps of his father. This is very concerning to my client, Your Honor. Lots of testimony about marijuana exposure to the minor children. He even offered David his roaches in his own words. And then he denies that he meant marijuana. Instead, he's saying now that it's CBD. Tested positive for marijuana. We never got that result. My client just came upon that test result somehow in the house. So we would request, Your Honor, at this point, a nail bed test or a hair follicle test. Visitation. My client doesn't have an issue with Mr. Strickland being around the children. Just make sure that they will not be exposed to any illegal substances and possibly supervised visitation if he has a supervisor. But definitely not in the camper when these visits will occur. Psych evaluation will need to be done by Mr. Strickland. We provided the facility that performed the evaluation on my client. Alcohol and drug program of some sort. My client requests that you order that if you're agreeable to that, to Mr. Strickland.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
So the Main Street assessment, they did recommend that Mr. Strickland attend their alcohol and drug program. I don't know what what it entails, how long and all those things, but my client would request that he be ordered to attend that program or any comparable program that your honor would prefer. On the contempt issue, we have proven that he was served with a complaint. Statutory injunctions was attached to that. He was on notice of the things that cannot be done. Also, the agreed order that the parties entered October the 20th of this year prohibited either party from discussing the divorce, and proof showed, and he admitted, Mr. Strickland admitted, Your Honor, that he did discuss this with Zaley, with Mason, and my client's son, David. The agreed order also specified that the deadly weapons and illegal substances shall be kept away from the minor children's reach. Proof showed he violated that. The agreed order stated that the house shall be maintained in the market and the proceeds shall be deposited with the court, and there were some other stipulations there. However, on his own accord, Mr. Strickland took the property off the market without discussing it with my client. He has sold, he testified, the Suburban horse trailer and the excavator without my client's approval or agreement. My client never saw the money on that. At this point, Your Honor, we would ask that you find Mr. Strickland in contempt of all the things that we have listed. And we would ask that Mr. Strickland be required to produce the login and passcode for all the bank accounts. My client wants to know where the money went.
You have a motion down regarding that? Because we're only dealing with the motions that are before the court, and I don't see a motion that deals with your request for that information.
I do not, Your Honor, but general relief is what I put in my prayer for relief. So
Sorry, what?
I also put any other relief that the court may deem.
I don't think other relief will substantiate a specific request that was not delineated, so go ahead.
Okay, Your Honor. And then lastly, my client just wants some safeguards for the children. She does not have any intention of alienating the children from Mr. Strickland. And so my client is also agreeable to be divorced. She is agreeable to be declared divorced today, if you're still considering that.
Give the what?
To be declared divorced today, if you're still considering that. She's agreeable to that.
That was kind of a one-time offer. I didn't seem too excited about that. We'll see what Mr. Strickland says through his lawyer.
And that's all I have. Thank you, Your Honor.
Honor, Mr. Strickland openly admitted that he sold those items that he's been accused of selling. His testimony was that it went into the LLC account, which the parties have always, in my opinion, mistakenly used as a family account. That's where all the money goes in and goes out, but that's where it went to pay bills. Ms. Strickland certainly enjoyed the use of those proceeds, the fact that her car payment was made, the support payments were made, the household payments were made, the mortgage was paid, all those things were paid by that. So as to that, he admitted that he did those things, and what punishment he should suffer. I'll leave that to the court, whether it be that the court consider a offset or some sort of thing like that as far as, once the house is sold. The As to the house, Your Honor, Ms. Strickland, although apparently a house cleaner by trade, although she's currently not using that skill, certainly not using that skill in her own home, as evidenced by the photographs, the pictures depicted a home that nobody would buy. It wasn't, nobody's gonna walk into that home and make an offer based on the condition that she kept that home. And so that's why Mr. Strickland's position was that the house should be auctioned. They've listed now with 2 separate agents, either of whom were able to sell the house, being Ms. Kuhn and then the agent after her. Finally, Your Honor, with respect to the children, I think it's rather disingenuous for Ms. Strickland to kick her son out of the home to go stay in the camper with his father, only to then turn around and complain that his father is not appropriate to be around kids because the son apparently took a picture of himself with a gun. My recollection of that testimony was that she knew when it got posted to social media, but could not say when that photograph was taken. Now, on top of that, we know that her own son is facing some sort of delinquent charges for testing positive for meth while in her care. So, but now suddenly, Mr. Strickland is the one that's suddenly unfit to be around children. And so that's why we're asking for the court to put any conditions it wants on Mr. Strickland's behavior moving forward, but to immediately reinstate the visitation that was as contained in the agreed order. Furthermore, Your Honor, the things that have been testified to here today, and I know I objected and I was overruled, but many of these things, if not all, were certainly known by the parties at the time of the agreed order, and most of which occurred prior to the last agreed order in this case.
Well, this is here before the court on 2 different restraining orders that are being asked. One was dealing with the sale of the real property, and Mrs. Strickland was seeking a restraining order to keep him from going through with the Mark Spain realtor and selling the property. Second was a restraining order regarding the removal of the minor children from her care based upon an affidavit and a sworn statement regarding things that had occurred since the entry of that order. This, in the last will, was that there was a motion for criminal contempt. This order today will resolve all of those issues and replace them. Mr. Sanders, as your client indicated earlier in open court that he wanted to be divorced today, is that still his wish? You understand that that means that you're still able to bring up all of this dirt you want to throw at each other at a hearing on any issue regarding alimony or spousal support, but you're not going to be worried about grounds. You're going to be divorced at that point. It also fixes the date of property ownership, meaning that from thereafter, it would mean that each of you would own property. If you acquire property after you've been divorced, then it might be your separate property unless you use funds that were a part of the marital estate to acquire that. So I'm going to ask you both to tell me, do you want to be divorced today? Yes, sir. Strickland, do you want to be divorced today or not?
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
You're going to have to stand up because our reporter can't see you.
Yes.
Then I will declare them to be divorced without a finding of fault. This does not resolve any issues or prevent either side from litigating any issues of fault regarding any spousal support claims and so forth, because that is a statutory factor. I'm going to deal with a real property first. The real property is going to be listed with a reputable realtor. I don't have anything against the realtor that was here, but Mr. Strickland has issues with her, and I want both parties to be satisfied with that. They have an independent realtor who's going to do a good job of marketing their property. Therefore, they will agree upon a realtor. If they cannot agree upon a realtor, they will both submit 2 names of local realtors, and I will decide which one will be listing the property. I don't care who it is. I don't have any connection with any realtor, but I would prefer that you, through your lawyers, agree on a realtor. Once a realtor is selected, that realtor will recommend the listing price for the property, and that will be the price that it's listed at. And the property will be listed for a period of at least 6 months. Mrs. Strickland will be allowed to continue living in the home, except for any time that Mr. Strickland might be allowed to come in there, which I'll deal with in a moment. And Mrs. Strickland will be required to keep the property in marketable condition, clean and so forth. I saw the pictures. It looked strong. It did not look dirty, but it looked strong. And with a house full of teenagers and other kids, having grown up in a family of 5 children, of my family, and having had 4 children in my home at one time, it is difficult sometimes to keep it straight. But if you're going to market your house, you got to keep it organized so that you may get a call and in 2 hours somebody's going to come look at your house. So it's going to have to be done. Upon neither side will have the unilateral right to terminate the listing agreement or to accept an offer that's made. It will be jointly done, and if you can't agree, if you get an offer on the house and one side wants to take it, the other one doesn't, you have to file a motion. You have to come before the court to have the court determine whether that's a fair price or not. We'll conduct probably a 2-day hearing on that issue alone. I hope not, but anyway. Then the next thing I think that resolves the issue. The mortgage will continue to be paid by Mr. Strickland according to the terms of that prior order, simply because there's no motion down to address that issue. I have making my ruling today, judging the credibility of the witnesses who have appeared before me and the credibility of the parties. While both of them have issues, and I certainly don't think that either of them is without fault, Mr. Strickland, I don't really find you to be very credible about the issue regarding the marijuana situation. Judge Robert Birch used to always tell my clients when I would have a client who he didn't believe, he said, I didn't fall off the turnip truck when it came through the middle of town. That was his way of saying, I'm not that dumb that I believe it. I have read through the documents, I've read through the emails, I've looked at the photographs, and frankly, I find that you have been using marijuana. You tested positive for THC in a level that, in my opinion, would not be from CBD. I don't care whether you use CBD or not. Don't give it to your children. That just encourages them, starts them down the path that you're already there. And I'm not going to allow you to use CBD in their presence. If you have to use it, you use it somewhere else. I have a hard time believing that it carries that much benefit that you would do it around your children anyway. But when you write an email to one of your children and say that don't steal my weed, you take the roaches, I mean, that's the part that I find completely unbelievable, and that's why I asked you about it. And your explanation to me was completely without credibility. So when I don't really care if you smoke marijuana, I do care, it's illegal. But if you admitted that you just smoked marijuana and that's what that was, that's one thing. But when you take the stand and you try to pull the wool over the court's eyes by saying something that clearly is patently untrue, that creates a lot of problems with it. Beyond that, the officer's report that's filed in the court file, where he says that you told him you put a gun in your mouth, the report from Main Street Assessments where they said you admitted smoking marijuana daily, those things obviously are contradictions of you taking the stand and saying, no, that's not true. So apparently it's everyone in the world is lying about your situation except you. And I just frankly don't find that to be true. Now, why is that important? Because your credibility on some of these other issues goes to the same. For example, your testimony regarding you had to sell this equipment in order to pay the bills, and that you blamed her for running down the company and so forth. Well, the only problem with that is that your own nephew got up here or your relative and testified on Zoom that he was the one that you were paying the bills and he was the one who was doing it. There's no proof other than your testimony that she in some way destroyed or damaged your business. You're still doing the same thing. You're just not operating apparently under that business so that you are not using it as the Music City tree service or whatever it is. So why is that important? Because you've been charged with violation of the statutory injunction. Now, I want to read this for you so that you understand. The statutory injunction that's set forth, and by statutory, I mean the state law of the state of Tennessee has a law that says when a person is served with a complaint for divorce, it says the following about property. Do not do anything to any property that belongs to both of you that makes it worth less money. This means you cannot sell, spend, destroy, harm, transfer, assign, borrow against, hide, or do anything with it unless the court orders it or your spouse agrees. Goes on to say you may use your income for expenses that'll let you keep living as you were when you were married, pay the usual costs of your business in the same way you always do, but you must keep records of all expenses. I find that your sale of the items that were cited in the criminal contempt motion, and criminal contempt means I have to find beyond a reasonable doubt that you did violate that order. And I do find beyond a reasonable doubt by your own testimony that you believed or that you sold the Suburban without the plaintiff's consent, and that you, on November the 26th, you sold an excavator without her consent, and that on or about November the 28th, you sold the party's horse trailer without the mother's consent. And I don't find that the buying of an SUV without the mother's consent constituted a violation of the statutory injunction. So I find him guilty of 3 counts of violating of the statutory injunction. In each of those cases, he is sentenced to 10 days in the county jail, which is the maximum I can impose. If it were civil contempt, then I could hold him in contempt and incarcerate him until he remedied that situation. But criminal contempt is punishing him for something he did. In each of those 10 days, I will suspend those sentences and run them consecutively to one another so that he has a 30-day jail sentence hanging over your head on a criminal contempt. Why am I doing that? Because I intend from this point forward to have some leverage over you to make sure that you do what you're supposed to do. Now, this termination of the business, you decide you don't want to do the business, that's fine, but obviously I will allow Ms. Hendrickson and Mrs. Strickland to explore those issues regarding the business and the income and monies and so forth in discovery, and we'll deal with that later. So far as the other issues of the violation of the order on a criminal contempt, I don't find that any of the others are necessarily rise to the level of beyond a reasonable doubt of willful and intentional violation of the court's order. So therefore, those 3 findings of contempt are all that I impose. Then we have the motion or the restraining orders that are set forth. I'll deal first with the one about the marital home. I've already, by my prior order about how that's going to be listed for sale, have resolved that issue. That dissolves that restraining order and places, in fact, replaces it with this current order regarding the restraining order regarding the children. I asked you a very serious question about when you said you love your children more than anything in the world. I hope that that's true for both of you. Both of you are going to have to start acting like they are the most important thing in your world. You already see the effects that some of these things can have on children when they see their parents smoking weed or drinking and carrying on, and that way, that makes it okay for them. I mean, they want to emulate you and they want to be like you. So what they're going to do is they're going to follow in your footsteps. They're going to do everything the same as you can do as soon as they're able to, whether they're an adult or not. Part of that problem is probably why David is having the problems that he's having. But they're teenagers, they're children. You know, you're going to have to take some responsibility for the fact that the 2 of you and the problems that you've had are contributing to the problems your children are having. And you can stop that by trying to reach an agreement between the 2 of you that you will treat each other civilly and you'll stop this nonsense. I'm granting you a divorce today, mainly because hopefully that's going to stop some of this animosity towards each other. you're not going to be married to each other anymore. You're going to be free to go out with anybody you want to. You're going to be able to put your face on a dating site and see anybody that you want to. That's entirely your right to do that from this point forward. But your children are going to have to be your primary objective in this case from here on out. You understand why somebody who, and I do find that there was a cause and a reason to believe that there behalf. I'm not critical of that. I mean, you go through a divorce, there are a lot of people who reach at the end of the rope, and drinking and smoking weed will contribute to that. But hopefully you've got yourself straightened out now, and that you're having gone through that treatment that you have, that you don't think in those terms anymore. And for that reason, I want to resume. I'm going to dissolve the restraining order that keeps him from seeing the children. Mrs. Strickland, in her candor on the Monday's hearing, stated that she wanted him to see the children, and again today reaffirmed that. She just wanted them to be safe and not exposed to what they were down at the camper. Monday, you told me that you would be willing to let him come to the house to visit with the children, so I'm going to take you up on that. And he will have visitation. Right now, we're at Wednesday, and Christmas is this weekend. So we need to figure out something regarding Christmas. But, the ideal thing would be the children stay in the home and let him come there, and you can leave, and David can stay there in the home. That was part of the original agreement that you made. If he comes to the house and David wants to stay, that he'll be allowed to stay. I assume you have a good enough relationship with him that will not be a problem. I don't want to put him out of his own home right here at Christmas time. But I do think, at least for right now, Christmas Eve is Sunday. So let's start the visitation. Let's start it tomorrow. And are you working you got a job tomorrow, right?
No, sir.
Well, that's what your man said, you had a job tomorrow.
The Tuesday after Christmas.
The Tuesday after Christmas, all right.
And I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm actually going to my aunt's house in Georgia for Christmas. We had spoke about me getting the kids tomorrow and taking them to Aubrey.
Anything anything the two of you can agree to, I am fine with. But there's going to be restrictions. You're not going to be able to drink when these children are around you, anything.
I haven't drank in weeks, sir.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not opposed to people drinking around their children if they do it in moderation, but the proof before me has been that there's an excessive amount. And the witness that testified from Arkansas by Zoom verified pretty much what Mrs. Strickland had said about the level of your drinking. So you're going to have to, one of my old judges I used to be in front of, Judge Leonard Martin, used to say that if alcohol is causing you problems, then you've got an alcohol problem. Now, what that means is simply that if you can consume alcohol without it interacting with your life or creating problems for you, then you don't have an alcohol problem per se. But if it's causing problems, you definitely do. So what I'm going to tell you is you can't drink alcohol when these children are present. And while you're going to a family function, I'm not going to say you can't let the family have it, but you can't be drinking around these kids, you personally. So it may be hard for you. You got to think about that. The only reason I'm doing that is because of this evidence of excessive drinking. So we're going to, while this case is pending, we're just going to make it and the same thing for Ms. Strickland. She won't be drinking. If she does drink, she won't drink around these children, period.
Yes, sir.
Second thing is there'll be no marijuana whatsoever in you or on your person or in your system when you're around the children. Again, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with the laws of the state of Tennessee, but it is illegal for marijuana. The CBD stuff, in my opinion, could be used as a cover, and I think we see that. And some people say, oh, no, it's not really marijuana, it's CBD, because it has some small quantity of THC, and it looks a lot like marijuana. Well, if you need to think about, if you're going to do the CBD, you might want to think about doing it in a different form than what looks like marijuana to me. So in any event, we won't be having marijuana or even CBD with these children present, so that we can just eliminate that from Mrs. Strickland's situation. I want you to finish your psychological evaluation, and I will give you 30 days to get that done. If you want to use the same one that Mrs. Strickland has done, then so be it. But that will be the case. You'll have 30 days to complete that. In my opinion, the counseling recommended by the Main Street assessment was, I believe, I haven't actually seen the full A&D assessment itself. I don't know that it may have been included in the pleadings, but was not made an exhibit. But it does say that the results of that alcohol and drug assessment and urine drug screen will be addressed by the court on the filing of this motion. So I will say that, that if that recommendation was made by the Main Street assessment, then you will follow that recommendation, get into some sort of counseling programs. Your wife, your former wife now, is in therapy for dealing with whatever the problems are that she had. You need to do the same thing. Lastly, in order to resolve the issue of question of whether anybody's using anything that they shouldn't be using, I'm going to order that either side can request a hair follicle drug test of the other upon giving 24 hours notice. And that will be one time between now and the next time we have a hearing. They can randomly request you to take a hair follicle drug test to see if you're using anything in violation of the court's order. Same thing with you. He can request that of you. The reason I do that is to give you both the assurance that you have some control to see if there's something going on in the other one's life. If that test is requested, you will have 24 hours to complete it, and the results will be forwarded to both the other lawyer, your lawyer, and the court. Now, is there anything that I have not dealt with? Ms. Hendrickson, do you know of anything?
One moment.
Prior orders regarding the assessment of bills and things, that's still a court order. It's not been modified, and I would strongly urge you to find a way to make enough money to pay those bills on a temporary basis. I'm only enforcing what you two agreed to originally, so.
Elder, on your order regarding a realtor, do we have a due date to come up with names if we don't agree?
Yeah, you got, today is the 20th day of December. You've got till the 28th day of December to agree on a realtor. This shouldn't be rocket science. There are plenty of good realtors around. Mr. Sanders, I know, knows a lot of them. So, you know, just y'all see if you can come up with a realtor's name that's in.
Sorry, y'all, I do have Missy Chandler.
I'll talk with,
Do what?
no, I said I would talk with my client about that.
Anything else that I have not addressed in these issues? Let me say this. There'll be no discussion of this case with the children. That needs to be a part of this order. It was already, I think, ordered under prior order, but I intend to make sure that happens. Don't be talking about the case at all with the children. And right now, what I've put in place is his visitation is going to be for Christmas. When are you coming back? Well, you two work that part out, but I want the visitation to be resumed that was previously ordered, but I want to make sure that it's done at the house rather than at that camper. And then if there's a problem, you all know where I am, so I expect I'd see you again.
Your Honor, I know the court has said it to occur at the camper. He would like an opportunity to obviously do things with the children outside of the home.
As long as, the main thing Ms. Strickland indicated was that she didn't want them in the camper there where marijuana, CBD and all that was. So I don't have any problem with him doing things outside as long as he's not under the influence of an intoxicant when he's driving and he complies with the court's order. He can do things with them. Use your best judgment and common sense is all I'm asking. Just try
I
to
do have an additional provision.
do what?
I do have an additional provision. I
I
apologize.
assumed as much, but go ahead. Come up here to the podium so I can make sure I hear it. Come on up here.
So, Your Honor, even though the parties are now divorced, my client is asking that the children be not exposed for now to any.
She's asking what?
She's asking that the children be not exposed to any romantic relationship for now until
Yeah,
we're.
let's just keep, they're going to be surprised to find out mom and dad are suddenly divorced. So let's just don't complicate their lives by bringing another person in. You know, if you're going to date outside their presence. You know, you'll probably find that if you're going to date somebody, they probably don't want to be around your children immediately anyway. But if you just don't expose them, we'll put that in the order. Just neither of you have a person that could be construed as a romantic partner or paramour around the children pending the final hearing. After that, you need to understand you're both free to date whoever you want to, as long as they're not a bad influence on the children. Neither of you is going to be able to control the other one about who they see or what. One of the things I cannot abide is one partner threatening the other one because they're suddenly going to be dating somebody else outside of the marriage. So, all right, Ms. Hendrickson, will you make a stab at drawing the order
Yes, Your Honor.
and submit it to Mr. Sanders for his approval before? Thank you. Then conclude. I think you're both good people. I think you've had a rough patch, and what you're going to find eventually is that right now you've had this business and it's been paying all of your bills and you've been living there. Both of you have supported that one household. Now you're going to have two households. You're going to be living apart. So you're going to have to find a way to make the money, and I assume that means you're going to have to find a job. Obviously, if there's issues regarding alimony or spousal support, we'll deal with that at a later hearing. But right now, the main thing you both need to understand is that it's going to get tough financially for you both when you go through this, because you're splitting what you had for one household over two households. Think about that. And also, I'm going to order that they go to mediation before the final hearing. Mediation is a non-adversarial proceeding where you try to negotiate a settlement, because now we're going to be talking about economic issues and the children's parenting plan from here on out, not fault.
If Mr. Strickland were to move off of the property at some point, maybe a good idea, as far as his visitation goes, is the court
I
okay?
don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict. I mean, if he moves to a decent place, then informs Mrs. Strickland where he's living and under what conditions, then that'll be up to her and Ms. Hendrickson as if they can agree. If they cannot, then he could revisit the issue. This is not a permanent requirement that you stay on the property. It might be better that you're not there on the property. But all I'm saying is I can't predict what I would do until I know what the situation is. He is permitted to leave if he wants, and then he's permitted to, the smart thing to do would be find a good place, tell her, hey, there's no limitation on their contact with each other. He can tell her in a very kind way, would you like to come see my new place? And let her come and look at it and see if she likes it. If it looks okay, then she may agree. And you don't have to come back to court and spend attorney's fees in litigating that issue. So, anything else?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
What I was going to say is that I think you're both good people. I think you had a rough patch, Mr. Strickland, and that's your own fault in doing that. I don't intend to want to put you in jail. I don't desire to put you in jail, but I will put you in jail if you violate this order. You understand that? And 30 days in jail is no joke. Same thing goes, Ms. Strickland. I found him in contempt for his violation, but I want you both to understand that from this point, I'd like to see a fresh start, where you both start cooperating and trying to put the best interest of your children first. Because if you don't, then you're going to ruin every major event in your children's lives. You're going to ruin every Christmas, every holiday, every birthday, every school event. They're going to be tense and upset because mom and dad hate each other and they're going to have to be together at the same time. You have a bunch of children that you'd like to have to share some of those major events with. And that will eventually come down to marriages, being able to be involved in your children's marriages, as well as the birth of any grandchildren that you may eventually have. You're young now, but that will be coming at some point. And when that happens, it will be a great event if you could all be together and treat each other civilly so that your children feel thankful. So think about your children's best interest first. I wish you both the best. We'll try to fix any problems that arise down the road, but I hope you'll work together. Thank you. All right.